Andrew Demetriou is the Chief Executive of the AFL. Good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Why do we have to play Carlton Hawthorn tonight with a small crowd, with the scalping going on already, down at the Dockland Sandpit?
There's a couple of reasons. One is that Carlton got a contractual obligation to pay 6 games that Etihad, so that game was fixtured in October of last year. It should be noted, Neil, that they requested for it to be moved, wrote to us, we approached Etihad, spoke to the MCG, and we tried to move it, and the only game we could move it was versus the last game of the year, which would have meant Geelong Collingwood, who are playing Friday night at the MCG. We'd have to put a game back to Etihad, and that involved, I think the game looked at was St Kilda Carlton. So it just didn't work because of logistics, but we did look at it, and we hopefully will get 50,000+. Might rain tonight, so with the roof it might work out all right. But look, you know, it could have probably got 80,000 with the MCC members at the G tonight.
So was it you wanted to move it? In the end, was it the procedure? Was it was it too complicated to do, or was it the fact that Carlton had the obligations?
Well, no, we would have put a Carlton game back, but it would have meant that an MCG game that we had already on the Friday night, Geelong Collingwood, we would have had to move, and we couldn't move that game. So it was just a logistics thing in the end.
Sold out though, isn't it? I see scalping going on.
Yeah, well, the scalpers have to be put on notice now because there is legislation now through the Victorian government, and the sanctions are very heavy, and if anyone's out there scalping, they will be caught and they will be prosecuted.
Have you asked Channel 7 to play it live?
There was a request that went in earlier in the week, and I think, Neil, that Better Homes and Gardens has been going well, and the rating season is alive and well, but you know, they are probably in the last couple of weeks of no live football, Neil, and next year we won't have to talk about this.
Next year it'll be live because of the new contract.
Yeah.
Must frustrate you though. I mean, this would be a great game. Or it should be a great
wonderful partners, Neil, the 7 Network.
That's only because they've signed up.
They have.
Are we wonderful too?
The 3AW are wonderful.
Have we signed up?
Well, I think their talks are going very well, from what I understand. Very productive.
Now, did the Collingwood fans chanting "effing rapist" at Stephen Milne? Did they break AFL rules?
Not AFL rules. I think they probably broke. I think they probably broke what's socially acceptable as a standard in our community today. I think it's unfortunate.
Arguably defamatory too.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, Neil, that I only found out yesterday that the photograph on the back page of the Herald Sun was an old photograph.
Last year.
It was from the NAB Cup. So, look, it's unacceptable, and enough's been said about it. It is unacceptable. You know, we know that. You obviously saw what we did with the West Coast Eagles with the young lad McGinnity, who was very honest and open and apologised very quickly and is remorseful. There's no place for that on the football field or off the football field, Neil. You know my view. This nonsense about what goes on the field stays on the field. Those are days gone by, not to be returned.
But the one thing that puzzles me, that a supporter who uses racial abuse is in breach of the rules and dealt with. These people are not in breach of the rules when they've abused him in this way.
Well, he is entitled, Neil, as his lawyer who was in the paper the other day, he is entitled to seek any remedy and legal action through the civil courts if he's been defamed.
Yeah, but that's not an AFL issue. The AFL issue is if I call somebody something racially offensive, I'm in strife, but I can call this bloke an effing rapist, and I'm not.
What, under our rules on the field?
No, off the field, by the supporters. Because you've dealt with supporters for racial abuse.
And Neil, if anyone in the crowd, I mean, there is a number now that we put on the scoreboard with all the venues, and if anyone is abusing a player or is in any altercation, they've only got to dial that number, which is a mobile number on the scoreboards, and quickly an official will be there, and they have the power to remove people and prosecute them.
Okay, but once again, that's different. You tracked down and dealt with people who racially abused players, Buddy Franklin and Majak Dor.
Yep.
But these people have abused a white player in a very offensive way.
No, they have.
And yet they are not pursued and dealt with.
No, but again, I say that the rule that they've broken is a socially unacceptable rule in that sort of language. There are laws against racial and religious vilification under the Human Rights Act, as you would be aware, and you can be prosecuted, and that's why we deal with those people. I absolutely agree with you that language that was said is totally unacceptable. And I would encourage anybody who thinks that language is acceptable to think again, because it won't be long before a player takes them up on a defamation charge, or worse, they will be removed from the football ground, which they can be.
Mm. Yeah, I still make the point. You pursued people for racial abuse, but not for this. Is there a difference?
Well, there is, because we know under the Racial Act, Neil, that there are laws that prohibit people racially vilifying people. To abuse someone in that course is a defamatory and it's a civil action.
Would you, do you think Mick Malthouse has helped this week? I mean, he's not joining that campaign by Collingwood to sort of get the message to supporters. He seemed to think it was a trivial matter that should go away. He doesn't get it.
Look, Neil, I've actually got a bit of sympathy for Mick this week because I think he got caught unawares at that particular press conference because he wasn't aware of the ad campaign.
Oh, he did on radio too.
No,
on the ad campaign.
No,
sorry.
I heard his radio interview, Neil. Yeah. Right, I heard his radio interview. It is incorrect for people to keep calling for Mick Malthouse to apologise to Stephen Milne. He apologised a year ago.
And paid a
fine. He wrote to Stephen Milne and apologised.
Understand.
And every time I listen to something, it's about he just needs to apologise. He should have apologised. He's apologised. How many times does he need to apologise?
I understand that, but he did say it was a trivial matter what the supporters were doing.
His choice of words during that interview were probably, not appropriate. And I think he was caught unaware because of this issue around apologising now. And I don't think for a minute that Mick Malthouse, who I know pretty well, and Mick does get up people's noses, particularly the media. I don't think Mick at all condones that sort of behaviour. I mean, he is a coach focused on winning a premiership for Collingwood, and I don't think at all, with his love of the game, that he would tolerate that sort of behaviour.
Mick can be a grumpy man, but nobody suggests he's anything other than decent. I've never heard that.
I think he's a very decent man, and I just think that we've just got to stop this sort of pillaring of him about apologising. He can only apologise twice now. He doesn't apologise 25 times.
You've done a deal yet on IR, your pay deal with the players?
No.
Closer?
I don't know if we're closer, but I think there's been lots of dialogue. I think everyone's working towards trying to get an outcome now.
Dragging on a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the season's coming to an end. I think it's probably important that we get something done.
And why do you want the clubs to pay the full salary cap?
I didn't say to pay the full salary cap. What we've said, Neil, is that if we negotiate an amount of money, and let's call it for this argument, $1 billion for the players in whatever benefits, then I think it's a fair and reasonable entitlement of the players that they receive that total $1 billion, and that it's not siphoned off to go to other areas of the football club.